Good afternoon. I'm Bob Bresson, culinary arts instructor at K-Tech, and today our students are learning a very important understanding about the flow of food and how purchasing and receiving, to me, is the most essential start for to prevent foodborne illness. Today we're going to be looking at, on the board, a bunch of notes I put together to talk about food. Food safety begins with purchasing and receiving. First and foremost, the staff must be trained. It must follow the following criteria when receiving food from an approved, reputable supplier. Notice approved, reputable supplier. You don't buy food off from the street. One, your inspection is visual. It could also be the use of thermometers. There are three types of thermometers that we use: bimetallic, thermocouple, and thermistor. It requires decision making and critical thinking. You have to make the decision. Is the food safe or is it not? Do I accept it or reject it? Simple rule that I've always was taught: keep cold foods cold, keep hot foods hot. All cold food should be under 41 degrees Fahrenheit. All hot food should be over 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Speed. After your inspection, minimize the time food spends out by storing them as soon as possible. First, cold food in the refrigerator. Second, frozen food in the freezer. Third, dry goods, whether it be canned or dry goods such as flour, into the dry storage. Your dry storage must be cool, must be dampless, it must have to be out in the sunlight. Food inspection criteria. Now this is real important. We're going to use thermometers. Okay, thermometers will tell you if the food is hot or cold at the approved degree. We're going to talk about frozen food should be frozen. When that food comes in, it should be totally solid, no leakage, no ice crystals. You reject food, frozen food, if there are signs of ice crystals, if it's thawed, if it's slightly mushy, or there are liquids that are frozen on the bottom of the box, which means there's been a split. Packaging with dry goods or canned goods have to be intact and clean. You are to reject tears, holes, punctures, pest damage, dents, leaks, damage, or expired dates. Look for the inspection stamp on meat, poultry, and eggs. It must say USDA. Product quality is very important. I have a diagram here about product quality. Okay, time, temperature abuse causes poor food quality. It is no good. Throw it out. You reject food if the color is abnormal. Okay, if the eyes are blurred, if the skin is kind of mushy looking, and you throw it out. Slimy, sticky, or dry texture. If the flesh is soft. If it's abnormal or unpleasant odor, you throw it out. Shellfish must have a label with packer's name, address, certification number. Shellfish, best if used by or sell by date, must be on the container. You must have ID tags, must be kept for 90 days on all shellfish. Eggs should be clean and unbroken. You can receive eggs at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. All the other food must be 41 or under. The egg should be not cracked. It should have USDA standards. Very important. Now I have an order coming today which is going to show you some of the foods that have been ordered for catering this afternoon. So right here we have a supplier that's come in, and here's my food order. This right here is an invoice, and an invoice tells you the date, the time, the amount of food, the cost of food. Once you sign the invoice, it's as good as gold. It means you have accepted it as is, and if the food is bad, you haven't made a decision, you could have potential problems. Let's see what we ordered today. We have ordered eggs. They must be 45 degrees or cooler. We're going to check it with a thermometer. This is a bimetallic thermometer. Okay, the eggs are going to go in. We're going to check it inside of the container. And I've calibrated my thermometer, and it says 43 degrees. It's good to go. We have sour cream, which we're going to check. We have cucumber, which is intact. It's packaged. We have rosemary, which is fine. There's nothing soft, no odor, nothing foul smelling. We have flour. Okay, date says November 18th, 2011. So this is fine. Oops, got a problem. Flours come torn. Tear in the bag. No good. Could be rodents in here, could be pest damage. This has to get thrown out. I can't receive this. It's your right to send food back. We have a box, which is intact, banana bread, good shape. We have a frozen chicken. Notice how there's no thawing, there's no leakage. Now this is going to go on the lowest shelf. It's potentially hazardous food. It's raw. It must go in a container on the lowest shelf in the refrigerator. We also have in the box canned goods. Notice the can is dented right here. Cannot accept this, ma'am. Have to send it back. You could get botulism, which is a toxin. It could be fatal. We're not going to take it. This is fine. This chicken is fine. We also have another canned good of artichokes, which is fine. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a cart and we're going to simplify this by making everything go at once. And last but not least, which I did forget, sour cream. Okay, it must be 41 degrees. Temperature is at 40 degrees. We're in great shape. So let's quickly get everything in. I will not sign the invoice until I get everything put in. Remember to sanitize your thermometer. Okay, this is going to go in the dry storage. Just so you know, this is a thermocouple right there. So here's our refrigerator. And notice in the refrigerator, hazardous food that must go to the lowest shelf. This is raw meat. We're going to thaw this. This normally go in the freezer, but being we're doing a catering tomorrow, we're going to thaw this. Safest way to thaw food is to keep it in a container and let it thaw at refrigeration. It will take 24 hours. Eggs are going to go in the next shelf. Sour cream is going to go in another shelf. Down here, produce will go in the upper shelf. And in our dry storage area, we will take the canned goods and the flour. Okay, now that everything's been stored properly, we're going to send this back to the company. On the invoice, I will write down that will not accept the following foods. Item 1, flour. Item 2, canned chicken. I will sign for the rest. The driver that's come in will make the deduction. He will be subtracting the money, so the money owed will not be what shows. Since I have a good relationship with this company, I can easily deal with them. But remember, once you sign for something, it's yours, whether it's good or bad, or if you're missing items. So make sure on your invoice, when you're receiving food, that you check everything: time, date, cost, and amounts, and the quality. Thank you for coming in and viewing today our little teaching on how to receive food and how to inspect it correctly.